Hello.
Howdy.
Uh-oh. Can you say that again?
Howdy. Howdy.
This is coming in a bit faint, but
Howdy.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
see, I can hear Troy perfectly. Ralph, if you can get on Troy's level,
Howdy.
you're really faint there, Ralph.
Let me see what I can do here. Let's see. Jack mic,
No, that's getting better.
best speaker and audio. Oh, it must be
That
down
is
like,
getting
if I
better.
just, hey, how about this?
Oh, there
buddy?
it is. There it
Hey,
is.
how about this, buddy?
Nice and buttery smooth. Yep.
Okay. So hi. Now I covered up. Howdy. Hi, Steve. Let's see if I can. No, the mic volume is actually up as high as it can get.
No, you're good now. Like
Okay.
it sounds.
So I focused
okay.
on things.
Morning,
Yeah.
Ralph.
Good morning, everybody. Wait for the world to trickle in. Gotta look at the agenda again.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna park my second item for another day. In fact, let me just strike through this.
Well, actually, there is a comment. Go ahead and strike through it, but there is some background history for the community there. If you
Okay. I mean,
if you're be interested for me to talk about it. Sarah won't know. Brian will know, maybe.
Okay, then
So it's worth actually mentioning that
I'll leave it.
probably, and then have it as a future agenda item.
Okay, because again, I'm kind of green to a lot of this, and you got the tribal knowledge.
Yeah, some of that kind of background mess.
If you want, I can
There's Mata.
go ahead and share my screen. Or should we wait for Sarah?
Yeah, let's wait for the rest of the everybody. I mean, there's no
Okay.
particular reason to start, we're all super prompt, but in that case, oh God, a mosquito on my computer, and it's a brand new computer. I can't hit it. I had this happen.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do it.
Oh no, are you kidding me? Don't tell me that.
It's either that or you're gonna be itching all night. Which
I'm
one?
gonna get attacked by something. Hi, everybody. We're filtering in. Right now, it's a whole group of motivated Microsofties, which never bodes well for anybody.
Oh, it hasn't been. It's been a minute. I was super excited to see you paying me.
Yeah, it was it's interesting because I was like, I remember. So when I first got here, like over a year and a half ago in January.
Hold on, you've been here a year and a half?
Yeah, so I've been here since. So I've been here. So
He's been avoiding you.
so when I found out, I was like, oh, because it was hard to. Me and Sarah actually kind of started at the same time. Like I was coming from Red Hat and she was coming from Hashi, and we kind of realized we were doing like our screening at the same time around Christmas of 21, and when she got on her team, I was on my team, and I was trying to get. So it's not like I don't want to say I forgot. It was just like the reaching out was, and then I had a child, so then I was on paternity leave for a while. So then.
Oh, that's all you had to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, you have no cycles once that happens.
So since then, it's been that, right? So, but all good. It's.
Well, welcome aboard, even though you're somewhat of a vet, I guess.
Appreciate it.
And Dimitri's here.
Hey,
Howdy, howdy. Just waiting for the rest of the crew. I think Sarah was dealing with a plumber. moments ago, so I wonder if
Ooh.
she's still plumber dealing.
Yeah.
Entirely possible. So we'll wait a little bit more. We do have an agenda, so can actually have a nice conversation anyway.
Yeah.
If not take on a bunch of action.
Ralph, in time we are waiting. May I have a question, please?
Sure.
Yeah. Any updates regarding federal compliance?
So are there particular updates you're looking for? I can tell you where things sort of are generally.
We are waiting to start using Porter in Gov and the sovereign clouds.
Right, okay. So I can actually take an action item to follow up with that. And if you want to drop in specific questions into the Slack or into this chat, I will be glad to actually pursue the precise questions you have. However, so the images, the Porter image and the operator images are in Iron Bank. And to my knowledge, and I keep getting reports from Iron Bank every day about, the images because they keep scanning them and so forth. Which means that, they're all user space images. They're not privileged images and so forth. So in theory, and we do have community members that use them in sovereign clouds and other types of private and secure clouds. I don't recall receiving any notifications recently, meaning in the last 3 months, that indicated anything was wrong with those images. So that's basically, but I haven't gone and actually logged in and scanned the most recent repos, figured out which versions those are and so forth. So what I'll do is I'll volunteer to go ahead and do that. I'll log in and go have a look and send an update to the Slack. Is that an okay place for you?
Yeah, absolutely. But for Microsoft internal compliance, we need it to be not in Iron Bank, but in Cloud Vault. Actually, Cloud Vault is the EV2 related
The EV2 stuff.
boundary.
Okay, so
Yes.
for other people in the community, this is a process that Microsoft has internally that is similar to things like Iron Bank, but it's a Microsoft specific process and compliance process. So for that, I'm happy to talk with you internally. There's nothing specifically secret about this. It's just another secure process, pipeline process that Microsoft has that's very, very similar to the way that sovereign clouds work, Iron Bank users work, and so forth. With respect to that, there is one issue that I know of that was previously a blocker for that support. And the real question is, I don't think, if I think about it, I don't think we still have that blocker anymore. I think Porter might be approvable there. So I'll tell you what I do. Because this is a Microsoft specific question, I'll be glad to follow up with you internally, and then also give a sort of a generalized version to the community Slack, because there's nothing, this is just a Microsoft specific environment. Any other cloud, Amazon, Google, they all have their own processes that will be named different things that are similar. So I'll give a generalized description of that to the Slack so everybody can know.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. It's 10 after. And yeah, so like that's interesting. Say again?
No, I was gonna say, should we kick it off? I mean, we're recording.
Yeah, so we're already recording because it records by automatically. So in this case, Phil, do you want to just kind of jump in and do the kind of agenda moderating? I think we're probably not gonna, we're not, obviously, we don't have consensus here with everybody else. So we'll just do a kind of an overview of everything that we're talking about and add our comments, and then we can reclaim the time.
Yeah, and I guess yeah, with CNCF. So I'll throw in the disclaimer. Please remember, this is a CNCF project governed by code of conduct. So just behave yourself, and everyone will be okay. All right, let me share my screen here and go through some of the work that I've been doing. Just to let everyone know who doesn't know me, my name is Phil Gibson. I unfortunately have to work with Ralph here. So, but I'm an upstream PM here, and I've actually PM'd a handful of upstream projects here. So happy to be participating in this community.
Oh yeah, we always do new members. So
yeah,
I should have done that, but I didn't.
It's getting interesting. So yeah, so I started to get my hands a little dirty, probably a little more dirty than I wanted to on this project a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that I'm kind of using my greenness or noob superpower, here is I actually just transparency. I kind of struggled getting through, kind of just getting up to speed with Porter, the concepts, etc. And so I took notes as I was going through all this stuff and bothering, Ralph left and right. And what I came up with was kind of, it's in my opinion that the original structure of these documents, let me see where am I at? So if we go over here to docs, this wasn't super helpful if I'm being honest, if I'm like coming new and just trying to get spun up on this. And that's fine. The content was there. I just felt like some of the sequencing and some of the positioning of the docs didn't necessarily flow to someone who was like completely new and was trying to get up to speed with this real quick. So I pushed a PR just on the docs, and thanks for everyone that chimed in. I thought it was interesting because I didn't add any docs, I didn't change any of the docs, but we were getting some comments on some of the stuff inside docs, which is good. But but what I really did as me just contributing to this was I was really changing some of the layout to align with kind of the links and kind of the directory structure in Hugo, because I thought it didn't really flow. There was items under a certain subject that I had to kind of chase down. And so what you'll notice first and foremost in my docs, if I can get my IDE here up. So really this PR is more of restructuring the Hugo theme and the docs under it to make it just kind of categorize some of the thought. And so now I think it's easier to kind of understand what top level subject you're talking about, where that actual markdown is, et cetera. So that's step one of this. You can also obviously see that in the PR. The second thing is it's really kind of like the layout. Again, I kind of struggled. This is kind of what's out there right now. And as I was going through this to get spun up, I found myself kind of going all over the place to kind of understand concepts and things like that. So my first initial, where's it at? My first initial attempt at this was to kind of have better kind of titled like top level subjects. And again, I don't think this is the end for us. This is not kind of like the end state, but I feel like this is probably still very helpful if we start here. And then my whole plan is to kind of really kind of create a top level kind of doc issue with some sub issues on each category, et cetera. So if you kind of go to my PR, this is the preview on Netlify. And again, I felt like I should have been front loaded with a lot of the concepts and components before I kind of got into the quick start, because again, I was like brand new to this, and I think I represent probably a good majority of kind of just IAC, operators that would probably benefit from a little more kind of hand holding, being front loaded with some of the concepts and components before we start diving into the quick starts, and you're hearing terms that you're not necessarily familiar with. So that was my goal of this. So I'll pause. I've been kind of rambling, but love some feedback. And again, just want to kind of understand what everyone's feeling is to kind of really get this to where it's like just super boring to where someone can just consume this and it all just works.
Okay, let me interrupt for a brief moment.
Yeah.
It is surprising to me that only the Microsofties are here and nobody else.
Oh,
but
okay.
we decided to make the best of it, obviously.
Yeah.
And so that's fine. And we're recorded, so everybody can see this, and that's no problem. But Sarah tells me she was intending to schedule this at 9:30 her time, so 30 after, and is personally, don't want to say embarrassed, but personally not thrilled that it was accidentally scheduled at the hour. So I asked her if the other community members would expect us to begin at the half hour, and she said yes. So let's see, we are in 17 minutes. She's grabbing her headphones and will join, but basically the meeting is in 13 more minutes. How's that?
Okay, we're in a holding pattern. Okay.
So we'll be in a holding pattern. If people want to cut out and come back in 13 minutes, feel free. Bio breaks, the whole.
I don't know if I'm gonna have the same excitement on my spiel though. That's the unfortunate thing here.
So Phil, go get another cup of coffee, because there's nothing provides motivation like your 5th cup of coffee.
Yeah, I'll get some feedback. Wherever I tripped up, let me know, and I'll edit that out the next time, right?
Well, we all made the mistake. Hey, Sarah, listen, I just told everybody that we were thinking that we got the schedule set it on the hour, but if everybody else knows, there should have been a reason that there were only Microsofties here, and that was it. So other people in the community know that it's starting on the half hour, and so we'll just we're going into a holding pattern, and we'll pick the first agenda item back up at the hour, and you can kick it off. Sound good?
I'm good.
We figure right now we can gossip about things, like we can, just random.
While we're recording, that sounds pretty risky, but I'm here for
Well,
it.
it really depends what you're gossiping about. Like which city has the best hamburger, kind of thing.
I just went camping up in Buena Vista. I don't know if you guys have stuff to do for 15 minutes, but I just ran up and down 4 flights of stairs many times. So I'm here right now.
Right.
But I went camping and I saw like 5 signs for hot dogs. And every time I saw them, me and my co-camper were like, hot dogs. And when we got to the campsite, I got that hot dog sandwich. I was so
So I'm going to tell this to everybody, because I think this is just random knowledge that if you don't know about it, you'll never have a chance to try it. Okay. My daughter went to the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona. And the local Mexican community has, of course, there's an incredible fusion for food and drink and things like this, the Southwestern cuisine. But strongly influenced by, Mexico, as well as a little bit of Texas influence, a little bit of Californian influence. But one thing they have there in Tucson, I can only speak to Tucson, is something called a Sonora dog, which is quite literally a Mexican street hot dog. What, a good old American like me, born and bred in Seattle, would call a Mexican a hot dog. And it's a hot dog that you really only get these at like street stands, like out on the edge of the town. So it is like the finest piece of food I've ever had. It is amazing.
I was about to say, you might not have the immunity for that.
Oh no, they make it nice and nice and friendly, but of course they make it in all kinds of different styles, right? Like but the core recipe is amazing. It's so good. Oh my god. So point being, if you ever get to Arizona, southern Arizona, ask around for a Sonora dog if it's interesting to you.
Okay.
It is amazing, and they're $1. They sell them for $1, and so people in the little truck I was in, the people show up from the local military base, and they buy like 10, and just
yeah.
It's really
my
amazing.
partner always tells the story. Once he got out of like basic and he went home, his dad used to have to buy like a dozen eggs, and he would just eat a dozen eggs for breakfast because like all those military boys, their metabolisms are just through the roof. He just like go through a dozen eggs for breakfast and like a whole loaf of bread each day. Like, that's insane. That's an insane amount of calories. I can't even look at like that much bread.
Right. Yeah. No, this is mostly amenities. The hot dog bun is not that. It's really a supporting artifact.
I will say hot dog hamburger was pretty fun. I had a pretty big blast eating my hamburger hot dog. Did I share that photo in our team channel? It was so good.
Oh, I want to see it somewhere.
It would be a good like sad lunch edition. Oh, I didn't share the photos. Oh my God, I'm doing such a disservice to my team. I'm so mean.
There you go. Share with your team.
Let's see. I was so sure I updated the team's invite to 9:30, and I think I just made it 9 again when I updated it for like the 5th time.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's all that happened. And also like for team stuff, right? Like for Microsoft stuff, it has a habit of snapping to the hour. Or
I've noticed that, yeah.
Or not. When you want it to snap to the hour, it doesn't. And when you want it to snap to the hour, it does.
It's like the grid layout's kind of fun where you're just like, oh, I want it here. And you're like, I don't even know what time it is, but it's like it decides for you. There you go. Check out my hot dog hamburger.
Oh, where is it?
I'm on my like normal laptop so that nothing crashes during this meeting. So
where'd you put it?
I put it in our Slack on the Steel Thread.
Okay.
Imagine showing up to a campsite and getting this bad boy. Whew.
Okay, I'm now looking at a picture of a hot dog hamburger, which is making me hungry. It is now 5:24 here in Italy, and I want a hot dog hamburger.
Do they have hot dogs in Italy? This is such a weird question.
It is an odd question. They have sausages. So there's lots of influence from Germany. Like they'll have, Vienna sausages or Berliners or, various other kinds of brats. You would call them brats, but they're not really brats. So the Italians have a lot of sausage. So they do have that. They wouldn't put it in a bun, but they would do it like a hamburger. Now that I think about it, they are sausage paninis and so forth like that. There are.
Yeah, but like what? So is like a panini, like a sloppy Joe is like a panini in Italy, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, a panino is just a sandwich. So it's, it could be anything, right? And there are all kinds of different ones of those. And then there are things like bruschettas, which are like bread on the bottom and things on top. And they're toasted, like a bruschetta, like, kind of thing. And then there are various kind of tids and bits that are built differently with different kinds of approaches. Sometimes they're cooked or toasted, sometimes they're not, and so forth. They go by, like the Italians like to give unique names to everything. And so, for example, pasta, all the different shapes have a special name, like a specific name for every single shape of pasta. It's not just pasta. So they do that with their, the things all set out like antipasti or whatever. Each one has a specific name that is kind of, even if they're all kind of sandwiches, for example. So there's a bunch of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Everybody here is like riveted by this food gossip. Riveted. This is going to be the best recording ever of this community. Like
it's just like an hour of us like talking about sandwiches.
Because we all jumped into the meeting too fast.
I should be banned from Teams. Honestly, that's a ban I would welcome. I would be happy For
You and your fundamental irrational hatred of Teams because it's not Slack.
I am so happy I made that meeting all by myself. I was like, look at me, I did it.
100%, you're like 92% there. Like,
Yeah,
you should
yeah.
feel like it was a big success.
I know. I invited like 20 billion people. It was a pretty big deal. So I don't know. I feel like I'm doing great.
Right.
Let's see. Did I pull up the hack MD? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I pulled up my version.
Oh, I should probably log in. That's probably a good idea.
There's that.
That's important. I know sometime during the middle of the meeting, the plumber, well, maybe he doesn't need water to do this stuff. Eventually the water will have to get turned back on though. Edit. Oh, I just signed in. Why isn't it letting me do it? There we go. Okay. Should I pull up everyone's PRs? Is that like a good idea? Probably, huh?
Sure. Like the PR 217, I'm going to propose that we do something different with it, and we'll see how it goes. But it's not really required to look through that. If we don't decide to make use of that particular PR as formulated, then we don't necessarily need to go to the specifics in the meeting, but we do need to look at it.
Okay. All right, I have that in your issue up so that it's easy to share. I wanted to get Phil's. It's gonna be a hot topic.
So there's a couple of things we talked about before we started getting ready to start the real meeting, which
Okay.
was the agenda item. So
Mhm.
Phil had a second topic in there.
Okay.
And that second topic was about, let me, I'm trying to find the agenda on my computer as well.
That's around working with the bundle, ISVs, creators.
Yeah, that was it. And what I wanted to say was that Phil was ready to pull that item for this particular conversation. But what I did want to do is, we've actually had a community conversation in the past about that. And I wanted to thought I would use that as a way of sharing some historical information about the project and the community that people might be interested in. It's
a good idea.
Not Phil's specific idea, but would provide the background for a conversation on Phil's idea, I think.
We've talked about that recently.
Have you?
We have.
Okay.
I thought we have. Someone who is another human and I have also talked about it. We talked about, what did we want? I was talking about how there's like the Helm hub thing where it keeps all the repositories, and I was like, we should do that with like bundles and mixins, and someone called it the Porter Hub. And
guess what,
like,
I'm gonna talk about that is
okay.
exactly that conversation, which is surfaced many times, and I can talk about that historically.
Cool.
And see whether people want to roll forward with that kind of conversation. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. IMO, I would love to have signing before we do that, but I don't. We've talked about signing though, and you said it was easy. You said that directly. You said this was the easiest thing.
The code's already written. That's about it.
That's when it's easy.
Yeah, Troy, we may look at you, so be careful.
Troy doesn't know.
That's I did want to see, because are we in the meeting now? Because I know we had a little bit of time.
Not quite.
I wanted to see if I can share my screen.
Not until other people show up.
If that works, like I want to be able to see if the sharing of the screen works. Because
you can try it, and then if
Phil's thing.
Let me see.
Did Phil share
I don't
thing?
think there's any restrictions. I didn't have to ask. It just.
There's Stephen.
It just popped up.
Hello.
Hi, Stephen.
We have one of the two. I'm missing another one.
How are things going?
Pretend that this meeting did not start 30 minutes ago, and it's only just to Microsoft people.
Oh, we just weren't invited to the early meeting, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sarah, now we're not, we just want to be clear. Sarah accidentally scheduled the Microsofties for a whole hour and all the important people for the core half hour.
I care about my maintainers.
That's
and
right.
so I only subjected them to the good part of the meeting.
So there were, the Microsofties are like, yeah, and Sarah wasn't here because she's thinking, you know, maintainers at 9:30 kind of thing. So we're all like, gosh, I wonder what happens.
Meanwhile, everyone's like, are you coming to this meeting? I was like, it's in like a half hour. Like I have so
Yeah, we're
much
like
time. What is
beating
your
Sarah
problem?
up.
Yeah, it's like people are like, it's now. I was like, it's 9:30.
Not a sterling endorsement of your organizational skills, Sarah. I'm starting to question your leadership on this project.
Oh, but you know what? She threw
Wow.
Teams under the bus. She said it was Teams' fault.
It's all
Oh,
teams.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If I could schedule this stuff in Google Calendar, we would never have a problem.
Why don't
And
you
just
no
put
one
it
would
in
ever
Google Calendar.
Oh, this is being recorded, Sarah. You're gonna have a
Oh,
record.
geez.
Everyone, please send this to Satya directly.
Why don't you schedule it in whatever you want, whatever the
Because
community
Carolyn
wants.
had the internal one, the Microsoft for Microsoft Friends, and so that's why I made that one. I recreated her meeting. And I was
Actually,
like,
the Google invites work in Outlook now pretty well. You can just
oh, do they?
forward the same one. Yeah.
Oh, well, today I learned. Thank you.
I get all my open source stuff is either a Google or like now Zoom invites I get. People schedule me with Zoom, right?
Can you schedule Zoom? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
apparently if you have like the mega subscription or something.
this is what I have you and Phil for is I don't know how to use Teams or calendars, and so we'll do
That's what we do.
coaching.
That's what we do.
I pinged Brian to see he may have forgotten that it was an 8:30 our time
We
start.
moved
Oh, sure,
it
yeah.
for him.
Yeah,
You moved it. Well, you moved it for him and for me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this because I do like
Oh,
to be a part of this.
easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah.
I have to drop at 10:15 Mountain. So here in 40
No
Okay.
worries. No worries.
Got my watch on. Thank you for mountain conversion. We can. So,
Yay!
oh, Brian's here. Cool.
Yay!
All right, gang's all here. Awesome. So we're gonna just get started. We're gonna jump right into it. I appreciate everyone for your time and showing up today. We have a lot of agenda items, so we'll just start from the top down. And if you want to know where we're starting, go ahead and look at the HackMD. We're just going through each of those agenda items. I can drop that in the chat too, if that makes it easy. First up is Phil. Phil has a new PR out where he's changing the docs layouts of everything. I'm gonna link the PR in the chat. And then I wanted to give Phil the floor to explain what he's doing, why, and then we can have a discussion on, you know, how we might want to organize all of the documentation.
Right. Thanks. This is Act 2 for me. All right, let me I'll share the screen again and provide some context. All right. So again, as I stated before, but I'll kind of just talk about it again. I'm trying to use my superpower as being green to this project and was kind of, you know, going through these docs to get spun up. And I think one of the things that I struggled with, if we go to kind of like this original layout, well, there was two things I struggled with, but for me, kind of being super green, I felt like the documentation, some of these top level TOC links were kind of scrambled, so to speak. And that's fine. There was content there. I had to dig around to get it. And so what I propose with that PR is just really one, a restructuring of the TOC. I want to, again, just tell people I didn't create any new markdown. So thanks to everyone. I saw like some comments on some things inside the actual documents, but I actually did not create. I just kind of moved things around from a directory structure because I wanted to have it sync up with kind of other best practices that I've worked with, like with Hugo template. So so that's what you'll see kind of at the doc level. Well, this is what's currently out there, but if you kind of go look at what I changed around, you'll see that, you know, I basically have created a folder structure that kind of maps over to the actual like top level links there. But yeah, but getting back here to the TOC, I felt like if, you know, I was coming to this as kind of like, you know, representing like any kind of like IAC operator and trying to get it spun up really fast. And again, I felt this was kind of scattered around. And so what I'm proposing is a little more structure to it. This isn't what I would say by means like the end. I think there's going to be several iterations to this. But I think this is actually at least a good start for now, that if someone was approaching this project, they could get an introduction, they could be front loaded with kind of the core concepts, because again, I struggled kind of diving right into the quick start, not understanding, hey, what is this kind of credential set? Like, what's the meaning of this? Why am I doing this? And I felt like, okay, let's give a good intro. Let's get you up to speed with all the concepts, and then start digging into kind of the quick starts to where this starts to make sense and you can consume it right. There's some overlap in this. And again, I didn't touch anything. I just, again, my goal was let's create kind of a more specific top level agendas, like not agenda, but topics to where if I just want to come to this and say, okay, look, I want to be a developer, go right to development. I'm presented with, hey, how to author a bundle, how to, you know, develop mixins, etc. If you look at the original, it's kind of like, hey, okay, I got mixins, what is this? Then I get presented with this long sub-TOC. And again, it's just, in my opinion, a little scattered. So I was just trying to kind of wrangle the cats here and kind of make this a little more step by step going through that. But yeah, I'll pause. Yep, go ahead.
Just a quick question. So like a lot of the stuff you entered, like, you know, sort of looking at the operator too, are you, when you're thinking about this whole TOC, are you thinking about it with respect to Porter itself or the operator, or are you just saying all up?
Yeah, all up, because I got a section there for the operator. And again, it took me, I couldn't figure out how Carolyn was, because the operator docs was actually under the operator repo, but
right,
she did some really cool technique that I don't think I was fully understanding in Hugo on how to do that. So I basically just pulled that stuff over into the portal.
Hugo magician.
Yeah, because it was just, I was spending too much time. But yeah,
when in doubt, cut and paste.
Exactly right. Then we can figure it out.
Static for the win.
But yeah, I'm thinking, and it's good that you mentioned that, Ralph, because I think probably for best practice in docs, we may even want to move this into its own repo itself and have kind of an all up docs for any other type of component / repos out there. That's one technique we can do.
That's tough because it's nice to be able to submit the docs change with the feature PR.
Yeah.
Having to coordinate them separate. But I hear you how it can be cleaner too. But it'd be nice to, figure out the magic between the repos.
Yeah, maybe that's an issue to drop in.
Yeah, we can
get back to it.
Yeah, I'm sure we could do it that way. But you're right. Yeah, if we're updating features at the repo level, it's nice to just be able to tie that doc in and have that automatically update. So yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I don't have any objections to that. So yeah, I'll pause there. But I mean, if we think this is a good first step, and I could definitely go into and change. I do see, again, I didn't touch any of the markdown, but I can go ahead and make these edits that were flagged and resubmit the PR. But if that's okay, then we can maybe merge this. If we think we need to really sit back and have a full strategy on this, I'm welcome to do that. And then we can kind of create another issue, top level issue around docs, and then really, get all the feedback. But I'm
all for incremental value.
Yeah.
Get things in,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like if everyone's okay with this, and again, I can add all this and re-push it with the updates, and then at least again, someone new to this can come, and I think it's in my opinion, I think this structure is a little better than last structure. I won't get into percentages, but I think it has a little better flow of the content and understanding.
Rob,
Yeah,
do you have something? Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Stephen.
I definitely like this layout because that was one of the issues that I had at F5 was specifically with onboarding a couple people was they're like the docs just I can't flow through the docs and it's really hard to understand. One thing to look out for specifically in the Porter operator is there are some unreachable references to the docs where you can't get to them from this main overview. And that was something that we had talked about and we were going to fix, and then life happened and everything just kind of just went away and we just haven't come back to that yet. So that's something, there's definitely some areas of operator docs that either are really hard to get to or are just unreachable, and you just got to navigate to the full path because it's just not linked properly. And I can
those are in the dark web, Stephen.
Yes, exactly. I can get you specifically at least the ones that I know about. But basically it's just under the operator docs code, like we need to make sure that all of the docs are reachable, right?
Right. So you're saying that is today, that's not part of my PR. You're saying like today.
Yes, like today.
Okay, gotcha.
There's some
pre-existing, yeah.
Pre-existing, yeah. I mean, my strategy is again, I'll create another like top level issue, and then we can all chime in on kind of, hey, what we think is the most durable TOC going forward on this, and then from there we can kind of just attack each section, because I think again, my perspective is like for the operator type of persona, I would love to kind of promote the brand of a bundle and make sure that someone who's coming from the Terraform world, CloudFormation, or Bicep, understands that, hey, this is in addition to what you're doing. I don't think that is really called out here. You know, when I approached this, I thought it was an either or, and I'm finding out, no, this thing bundles everything that you're already doing. And then really having a lot of that integration documentation too on those type of subjects as well is going to be like super helpful. But again, that's future stuff. And you know, I'm thinking like, hey, we got KubeCon here in November. You know, if we're looking to kind of put some press around this, you know, we can at least have some strategy here from November and say, hey, let's at least get this to where it's super boring for the average operator to come in and start messing around with this.
What I would like, sorry, you go ahead, Brian.
Oh, sorry, just real quick, because I want to key off of something I heard. I think it would be a great idea to have like a Terraform or a Helm session or something where we're acknowledging the major DevOps players. And it's like, here's how you do this in a bundle, you know? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we're all on the same page on that. I think that's critical, because I think, you know, again, we got to get this to the operator. That's the masses of people that are really going to be touching this, or who want to get this in the hands too.
So going forward, there's like two different pathways I see that we can like kind of continue this. And I really wanted to focus on making this really open and like available for community feedback, because I mean, Brian, when you came in with like your feedback on like how you guys talked about things internally about like parts of Porter, it was things I wasn't even thinking of, and thinking of like how we're going to rename different pieces of Porter, as like calling everything, what was it, bundler images or something like that. I forget, bundler installer. And I was like, this is not a good name, but I know we need to change it from what it is. So it's great to have that feedback. So there's two different like things that I've seen Porter do a lot that I think it might, you know, two different pathways we could choose, which is one, we could sit down and try to write a PEP. Kind of like adverse to this, because writing a PEP on docs, I was like, now you're writing docs on docs, and it's kind of weird. Another one is to like kind of sit down and go like, what are the pieces we need to do, and either do like an issue, and like then we'll start to create sub issues, or docs on docs on docs. Or Carolyn used to do like quote unquote epics in issues and break it down that way. Either way is fine with me. But I think kind of breaking down these like big pieces of like restructuring. And now we're going to say like, okay, let's rewrite some stuff on integrations and bundles and mixins and like all these things, and looking at like keywords. Think like all of these could be like big higher overing issues that now, like once we break them down to pieces, people will feel more comfortable commenting and coming forward on. So is there a pathway people like, or do people hate both pathways and there's a third pathway? How are we feeling?
No, I think the PEP works. I think for me, in my opinion, getting this out there now is like critical for I would think, because right now people are gonna struggle just how I struggle. But yeah,
that was my bad. I forgot to mention we should merge this first and then
yeah.
That was my bad.
The PEP is good. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, just to reiterate, yeah, encourage. The PEP's great for North Star. Issues are great for like, we find this discrete thing we want to tackle, you know?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm leaning towards like a lot of like if you've seen PEP 003 issues and the epics, we could just do an epic issue where it's like restructure and redo docs and then create the sub issues. That's the only reason I'm shying away from the PEP, is I feel like I'm going to get less community. We're going to get less community engagement and involvement and like feedback. Whereas like we tag a bunch of issues as docs and like stuff like that, we might get a lot more people running through the getting started and giving us more open feedback. So that's the only reason I'm kind of wary, but we could also end up doing both. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Ralph.
I would think those are two parallel things. And yeah, go ahead, Ralph.
No, I was going to say, because like I'm motivated to do some of the individual items, you know. Strangely enough, it's the beginning of summer and I'd like to type about things and not think about things, kind of deal. So for that kind of thing, it's better to have like discrete units to sort of knock off. So if people are interested in merging and then creating some items where we've talked about it before, we know gone about it, like we can just deal with those like on the fly. So like, let's say I write a topic or whatever, and it turns out that makes people think, okay, that's not really a discrete topic. It's really more connected. And we want to re-architect something like that. Then I can do that footwork. But the first PR comes as an example kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious thoughts on like, maybe there's putting information into the contributors guide. Like, here are our guiding principles around documentation. Here's our kind of North Star. And, you know, I got my PO hat on right now of you know, the user stories of like, we want it to be two clicks to get to this major subject area, that sort of thing. And that way, when you get those individual issue PRs coming through, you can point people here in our contributing docs is our guiding principles for docs.
That's really maintainable.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of PR templates kind of geared for the type of work. Just, you know, it's that classic, like, surgeons made less mistakes when they started using checklists, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you brought up something there, Brian, because I was gonna actually do another PR on part of the contribution. Man, my mouth is
contributing. I think
contributing. That's it. Yeah, and kind of go a little deeper into the Hugo stuff, because again, if someone has motivation to do that, me, even at my level of understanding of Hugo, I was a little lost on some things. I mean, I tied it together, but I could work on kind of really laying that out to where it's really easy for someone to contribute docs to.
Yeah. Did you find a search ability in there to add a
that was another thing I had. I said we got to put the search component on this. Yeah, I saw the actual template, and I do think it has a search component. So yeah, we can look at getting that wired up, but you know, that might be a little further
good
down.
Issue to add to the
good issue.
Yeah,
all of these are good issues.
Yep. So I got that search functionality. Okay, I mean that's all I had with that. Anyone has anything
From my
else?
perspective, this is a great start, Phil. How do
Absolutely.
you all feel?
That's great. No,
I love
it's
it.
getting
Yeah.
fresh eyes on this. Like
I know.
I had muscle memory for where to find stuff that
Mhm.
like I wouldn't expect other people to have. You know,
I had just stopped with the docs altogether, and I would just go straight to the code, right? So that's how I
yeah,
found
yeah,
it.
Right.
And
Right,
not a
right.
great way to find
That
things.
tells you something.
yeah. Just replace the docs with a single line that says "just read the code." right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well,
cool.
let me know. So let me ask this last question on that PR that we're looking to merge. Do you want me to clean up some of the comments that was in the markdown, or do we want to just get this merged and then come back and then have that whole strategy
There-
attack plan about, the content?
I'm
I
like
think there's a
super
nice.
nitpicky.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
sorry. I was
I
gonna
was
say
gonna
there's
say-
a nice cut an issue from a comment and just move on. Sorry.
No, we're on the same page. I was like, you and I could go back on those and like add like 50 more like suggestions. So just merge it, and then like I think it's good. We'll just like keep coming back to it. Leave all of the suggestions and stuff there. So then when
Yeah.
we come back, it's just like
We
doop
can
doop
fix
doop,
it.
like we just
Okay.
do it.
Yeah.
All
Or
right.
you
So,
can make it. You can instantly make issues out of the unresolved comments.
okay.
It's just a button
Well
that
done.
can.
All right. Well, I'll let the maintainers take care of that. And I think we're good to go. Anything else on that topic? Or can we move on? I know we.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're kind of stuck. So I'm going to switch around the agenda because I'm going to be a little wacky.
Okay.
And because Stephen has a strong cutoff, I think, Troy,
Yep.
do you want to talk about the client set thing? Because that affects both you
Yes.
and Brian and Stephen. I think it'd be great to get all of your feedback on the client set thing.
Yeah, so hi everyone, Troy. You might have seen me poking around in the repo. I'm working at Microsoft with everyone here who works at Microsoft. Quick thing, so I was looking through the maintainers channel, and I think we were looking at trying to give like shipping a client set so people can programmatically work with Porter and the operator without having to like do some bash scripts or actually use Porter natively. In a sense where they can't interact with the controller unless they're actually inside the controller, right? So we were talking about using a REST client and or even using a dynamic client, but controller runtime allowed you to just add the scheme, and if you add the scheme, you can literally just build the client set. Shipping that would allow something, because we ship a lot of things with Porter. I don't know if we want to ship that, but I mean, people can use their types as themselves and be able to write programs using Porter in pipelines to do stuff like, hey, I want to create an installation by this thing. It's almost like doing like a Terraform apply, right? Like you have the Terraform thing, but you can actually do that within a Go program that would just run against the Porter operator. So I actually have like a demonstration. Let me see where it's a share screen, and then I'm going to be nice and use VS Code. Okay, so Vim is my like thing, right? So can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so like if you look at like what a if I get like an agent action, right? So the Porter operator is not installed. I just installed the CRD so I could demonstrate what this program is going to do, right? Because I don't want to try to like build anything right there. So if I do like a go run main and I'll show what this is doing, it's gonna like list all the resources that are available. But then I'm actually creating an action config, and then like I get the action config and it can do that. This is because I have a branch that actually built the Porter client set, and then I can just like get the kube config for the cluster I'm on, set that to the client set, and then I can actually list installations. I can list parameter set list. I can list agent config list, all those type of things. I don't know if that's useful for people who want to consume this as an artifact to then allow themselves to be able to interact with the Porter operator without actually going into, because they're not going to go into it and modify anything Porter operator does, because it's just going to take the resource that you're applying, right, and then do something to it to make it available, right? This might be good for people who want to evolve themselves, but the tricky part is that if we ship this, I don't want to ship the whole thing, right? Because that's the problem. Like you just want the types, the controller runtime, the scheme, and bundle that up in a way where this is always going to be carried along with the operator types from future versions of the CRDs that we have applied to the generation of those next things. So I don't know if this is useful or not. I think it was kind of because I saw the conversation happening. I just wanted to see if and get feedback around what we can do and how we would like to see this convinced. Because if someone else asks, is like, hey, is there a client that I can work with the type so I can actually do stuff internally where writing a program could go against the operator to do some stuff where I don't have to. I can build this in part of the pipeline with Go, and I think that was Carolyn's vision with doing a lot of things with Go, even replacing makefiles with Mage. So that's kind of the reasoning behind this. Like I said, this is not a priority thing. This was just something I saw in the channel and was like, oh, we do this currently where we're, with what I do at work professionally. So like, this isn't that difficult to do. And then like, if you see, well, I can't print that, but you'll see that like, I can make the commands look like this. And this is an object that we can actually create. And now that it's done with that. So that's the end of my share.
Yes, Justice. I'll handle name calling for.
Okay.
I figure people can't.
Okay, now I can
it.
see everybody. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. So just curiosity, why not just point towards generic client? And like, how do you, what's your balance there for producing the client set versus using generic client?
Oh, because I think the reality of what people were looking for itself wanted to have the scheme there, so they didn't have to like build it. It would just be something shipped with Porter to begin with, and then like you can actually just use all the interfaces that controller runtime provides you that you get out the box for the Flink client set and do that M testing there themselves. I don't know,
David. When you say generic client, sorry, do you mean like dynamic client?
Yeah, basically you're just saying,
right.
okay, hey, I want a list of objects. So you take your object list, you fill up the buffer and you get it back. Clients, that's really useful for actions, is really useful for having a strongly typed interface. However, I've seen a lot of projects not use it as opposed to just publishing, here's my CRD types and I'm going to interact with the dynamic or numeric client to use those types. I was just curious if there was a strong upside. Is it more approachability? Like, what is the feeling that drives this?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was more so that because like now, if like I said, if you ship the client set, all those types not only on the scheme, that it's basically there's a set of interfaces that I'm allowed to use to interact with Porter outside of me having to set this up myself. And group version kind is already be bundled in, so then you don't have to like kind of do all those. And then if they do it wrong, they're going to try to figure out feedback, right? So then it's like you're giving them one less like, hey, now you don't have to like contribute issues to this because this is how this works. And this is exactly how a client set for any CRD type would work that's bundled with an operator. And I'm using like, so in the issue, and well, not the issue, but in the Slack, I was saying that like a lot of times people like OpenShift did this, right? They produce like the MCO machine config operator client set, but they use like client Go, and they did this like generation bundle thing that it's kind of been going away from that because a lot of people use SIG's controller runtime, and controller runtime has given people the abstraction away from using the type as a set to then say, here's the availability of the interface that can do these against all these types of objects, and you use those objects at that scheme. This approachable level may be easier to consume than a generated client that you would have to produce yourself against types that may be getting it wrong because you didn't do the right group version kind or whatever. So trade-offs, comfortability aside, I think it produces some value if we want to ship something where we can do this programmatically in Go, where we can accept the terms of how we like to give them with what is available to do, right? So if we don't want to include something, like if we're importing something that we don't want to include in our scheme, we can like say, no, you're not allowed to touch that because touching this is going to ruin your installation bundle or something like that, where we can actually just like, place some guidelines, guardrails around stuff. Yes.
Yeah, Troy, first of all, I just want to say, I think this is awesome. And it really aligns with like a kind of guiding principle that I like, which is like, we take the pain so our users don't have to experience it. And like I look at it from the perspective of like, using like dynamic client, you can basically get runtime errors because you're kind of like speculating, versus getting a strictly typed interface or resource to interact with. You get all the benefits of like IDE self-completion to see, oh, hey, here's all these Porter resources that are available and everything. So I think it does lower the bar of entry for other developers to be able to interact with things. I'll add, I haven't used this before. And so one of the things I'm curious about is, would we start consuming this inside the operator in its controllers and reconcile loops? Or is it just meant to be like an outward facing interface?
Well, the Porter operator already does this, which is kind of the reasoning behind. So for instance, yeah. So for
maybe I'm thinking of the stuff I've written outside of the operator, because I have memories of using dynamic client a lot for things, but yeah, I think it was outside the operator.
So if you look at like the reconciler for any of the objects that exist in the operator, you'll see that it'll say like client.client or client with watch or something like that, and then you instantiate that against the scheme that's ran through your init function, and you add that scheme in your Porter API version v1s or whatever like that. So there's a lot going on where this is available through. Go ahead, David.
So that's a slight difference. So you're using the controller runtime client, not the dynamic client. Also not a client set, right? So the client set is actually a gen specific interface, whereas the client from controller runtime is in the scheme is then tied to the type that you're passing in. So scheme is linked to the type, and then that gives you GDK to do your queries, right? So you can pass, like client.get takes in that type, which then is tied to the scheme. And so it can look up the GDK, and it's not completely dynamic. Where client set allows you to like, I'm going to generate actual actions on types and stuff, right?
Correct. Yeah. So
yeah,
I love this middle. I love the middle. Where it's like controller runtime types. Client set to me was a little bit of extra work, and it might be like
I'm conflating
around the
Yeah, I'm conflating the terms. So like, I don't want you to think I'm doing any extra work. I'm kind of sitting where you want me to sit right now. And,
the controller runtime client.
so
absolutely.
I'm sitting where you want me to sit. I say client set because it's a package thing of types that we can query against, right? But yeah, it's literally using controller runtime with the scheme and allowing that to be focused on these type of things rather than, but I did include the client go scheme, but that's a different situation. But again, like I said, it's the middle ground we want, because we want to be able to focus in on the customer or whoever's going to be consuming this to be able to reach those things programmatically within Go, outside of the operator space when they have that installed. So if they want to run, hey, I have this thing where I have this Go program that can do this whole thing. I ship that in a bundle, right? And then it can like do that against the operator itself.
So
right?
then,
and declaratively make your objects that you want. Yes, go ahead, Stephen.
So that was part of my question was what's the maintainability of adding this in? Is this something that is generated from the CRDs? Is this something that we have to go and make manual updates to anytime we add new things to the operator? Like what's that part of it look like? Because I'm also familiar with client set versus what we're actually wanting to do here.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part, because like even where I put this, you would have to like download the whole, like as a dependency, the whole operator would need to be kind of consumed because of where this is. Like it doesn't have its own Go mod file, right? Like if it was its own Go mod thing where it would just import the types anytime we update it and release it along the same lines as so I'll put it to you like this. The difference is like when Kubernetes is like client Go, that's released within the whole repository, right? But they only go against their own core type. So kind of they carry the dependencies along with them, because when you download kubectl, you kind of have to get all that right. With us, if we were to do this, and if we didn't want to do its own Go mod, it would be you're leaning the whole dependency tree from where this is imported.
Right.
And that's going to be the issue, right? So, but if you don't want to do that, you can like do this multi-module thing. I don't recommend, but that's a path forward to just have the types. But to your concern about like how do we support that, it's like, all right, we added a new type. That's still going to be in the scheme that's available within the types that we do add. So it's not like you have to do anything to the client, it still has those types. Now you might really need to release a newer version of it because this version tag 1.0.1 doesn't have what was in now 1.0.2 of the Porter API types. So that's just a maintainability aspect that wasn't driving through this conversation because I didn't want to not say that wasn't a valuable discussion, but if no one liked this, there's no way you're important to talk about the rest of it. So yeah, that's kind of my level of thinking. But if it sounds like this is a valuable thing,
we like it, so we can talk about that.
I definitely like it.
So no, and that's good. Like I said, there's no urgency for this PR to go in. I just wanted to demonstrate why this is a good thing if we plan on shipping it in and the level of care that's necessary with this. And I think we'll leave it like clearly there's a lot more important things that we need to work on as far as for a stability perspective. And I don't want to start shipping stuff prematurely. And rather than, introduce this at the 11th hour, it's easy enough to do it now to show you what's value. And then we can work around how do we get that in there. And maybe when we ship like the next version of Porter, whenever that is, we can talk about getting that in there. And I'm not, I don't know how that works right now, but as far as, but no, I do appreciate the feedback around this. And even if there's more questions, I'm available in Slack, Teams, however people can find me. But
Slack always preferred, but
yes.
Cool. Awesome. And then we'll go ahead and talk about the Helm customize thing, just trying to get as much in before Stephen has to go to his stand-up.
If I have to drop on that, no big deal. I actually kind of mirror what Brian, his thoughts on this, because we worked a lot on this stuff too. So he can well represent any questions I have if I'm not here.
On this, I assumed you were one combined entity. So,
just one mega mind.
He completes me.
Oh. Awesome. So Ralph actually made like a issue, which I had open and then I closed it. So let me go ahead and link that, and then I'll let Ralph start, and then you guys can take it away. So Ralph, go ahead if you want to go over
I think
your
it's
issue.
I'm gonna sort of hijack this a little bit. Madhav and his team did a bunch of hard work to try and, because they wanted for very good reasons to be able to give anybody the ability to install the operator. So we're very, very much interested in incorporating that in. And so that's where PR 217 came from. But I want to apologize to the community because he talked to me before doing it. And I said, well, this is great. This is great work. Let's see whether anybody wants to use it. I had remembered the old issue, but I didn't, because we were just talking, I didn't focus and sit there and go, okay, let's go back, resurrect that issue, talk about what we want to do and the whole thing. And so as a result, we kind of might have ended up dumping a whole bunch of code in the PR, all of which is incredibly valuable. But I really do want to say that I'm sorry we dumped a bunch of code in a PR without actually dragging the issue back in. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the comments on it that I've read are really absolutely spot on. It's not so much that it couldn't really be done or that there isn't good motivation for having a Helm chart install or customize install and a bundle install, for example. But there's no particular reason to do it all at once in this way. And so what I was going to propose is that we drive back to the issue, we can even close the PR if we want. Now, Madhav, I chatted with Madhav and he said, yeah, whatever is useful. And so I was thinking maybe we would really kind of drive back to the issue and go through the process properly so that we understand where it might be done and what it might mean. Because I like the incremental approach as well. And, that Brian, that you had brought up earlier, I completely agree. The actual argument I dropped into 75 has one other mistake, and that is when I found the actual issue, the first thing I saw was Carolyn's name, and I saw the first part of the argument has Carolyn in it. Please ignore that. I would edit that out now because it's just me feeling soft and sad about that. So ignore that part. I beg you. Really, the assertion was we really want to provide an easy way for operators to install, cluster operators to install it, even if they don't understand what Porter is or whatever. Somebody said, hey, I want this in my cluster, and they happen to use Helm, or they happen to use Customize or whatever, not just Porter already. We wanted to give them a way to sort of enter and test out the whole ecosystem before, they may actually themselves never even use the operator. They may just be the person that installs it, right, for somebody else. We don't really know. And one of the reasons I didn't put in there, but it occurred to me before we got to this meeting, is that the other aspect is Porter is a community and an ecosystem or a project. We'd like to grow the ecosystem and watch it graduate from, through incubator and eventually become a graduated project. And part of that is getting more people to try it, having more people to join the community, and just be, wait, I just noticed my hand is still sticking in the air and it bothered me. So this is part of that kind of, can we make it easy for people to experiment idea that is really for community members that aren't the people here. You're all really professional operators. And so for you, it's not really designed for that. And so maybe it's better to talk about it in the issue. Again, bring up the question of like having a different repo is, standalone as a first step, or something like that. There you go. That's my spiel.
Yeah. Hey, Ralph, I'll just add, like, yeah, I think it's great because I'm a big fan. Meet the users where they're at, right? And even like internally at my previous employer, we stopped using the Porter bundle to install the operator and went for a pure customized workflow.
Sure.
Customize, I'm a fan of, just because I don't have to think about a Helm chart template interface and what it makes available and doesn't make available.
Yeah.
But like Helm is the big player, and my learning sense is like, yeah, there's so much great integration between Helm and Customize, and using them in a way together. Like I'm discovering more and more that Customize has these Helm capabilities in it that I hadn't even used before. So
yeah, it does.
To me, and like, the Porter Argo demo repo that I've been working on, it's a, that was me
I gotta clone
working
that
on it. Yeah, it was working on a more pure customized deployment of the operator, and like adding transforming that to be Helm and Customize, or using it to prototype or something. I think it's a good place to have a working reference to prototype from, because it really kind of shows via the Customize overlays, these are the kinds of things we found we needed to tweak, and those would be naturally Helm settings.
Yeah, values in the values file.
Yeah.
What do you think of my proposal to sort of take a step back and drop some discussion into the issues, and then have another run at it with everybody in a simplified version?
Yeah, because I really think it is about like trying I sent out this article on like, here's how to organize a repo to do Helm and Customize together, and maybe we try out that pattern and see if we can just kind of get it going, so that it's the two delivery methods that we can leverage together. Because it turns out, Customize can just use Helm templates, just kind of natively. So
So is that okay if Madhav and I and the team just we'll drop back into the issue, and we'll just hold this PR in abeyance? I mean, we can close it and just make sure that we use it as a source mechanism for now. Does that sound okay?
I'm fine with that.
I think so.
Okay, cool. Then I'll take the the kind of personal item to work with Madhav and the team to sort of understand exactly how that might be done in an incremental fashion, and then we'll talk about it in the issue. One little note for the bundle mechanism. The other day I started building the operator, the bundle to install the operators. And there in their repo, there's a vanilla Porter YAML for generic Kubernetes, right? And there's one for an Azure installation, right, on AKS. And those things, when I went and found the bundle, haven't been built for like a year. And so I started rebuilding them. They don't build. So I started fixing them. And so just as a FYI, I'm going to go rebuild those and submit a PR. I'll create an issue and then I'll submit a PR to get those building, not in the CI/CD, just to get them so they build with, the most recent Porter. And then people can decide, we'll go from there, or we'll test them out and see whether they work. And so that's just another aspect of this kind of, hey, whatever you're using, go ahead and use it and get it installed and try it out. Sound good?
Yeah, I noticed actually yesterday as I was messing with the operator that it doesn't build on like the new Kube API. And I was like, shit, I don't want to go fix that.
Yeah. So I'll tackle those operator bundles.
So cool. Cool. And yeah, I think at least Brian and I were super aligned, and I'm still super aligned that maybe we should stop having these like large mono repos, even as Phil pointed out with like our website, and like maybe putting the website in its own repo. So creating like a deployment or like a operator Helm repo, things like that, I'm totally for. It's just whatever is easiest for users. So, and then also maintainers. So
I was also going to say that for the initial steps,
Mhm.
because we're the ones trying to make it all happen like that, we will take care of the repo for now and keep it up to date, and people can file issues against us and so forth. And as it moves in whatever way everybody decides is appropriate, then it can be a more shared thing.
Okay. All right. That's fine with me. Cool. Yeah. And make sure to post all that in the issue so that at least we all as a community
I will do it.
take care of it.
It'll be in the meetings
All
here,
right.
and then I'll update the issue.
Cool. Alrighty. Let's see what is else on the meeting. And everyone feels good on that, by the way, just checking in. All right, everyone nodded.
Cool. I gotta step off though. But
Okay.
I send all of you my personal affection.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Well, Ralph was going to talk about, basically, I think Phil was talking about something we've all discussed previously, which was creating, I think, either Justice or Ralph coined the term like Porter Hub. Like, you know how Docker Hub has Docker images, and then Helm has whatever they're called for like their things. For bundles and mixins, it would be cool for Porter to host and like have their own stuff. But as we were talking at the beginning of the meeting, we need to sign things and be able to like sign our bundles and sign our mixins and make sure everything's secure before we do that. Phil, you're welcome to talk more about it. Yeah, go right ahead.
Just getting my am I broadcasting now? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay, I'm good.
I can hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, again, using my noob superpowers, and again, just kind of really championing like the IAC operator. Yeah, some type of hub where you have verified like bundles, because again, imagine the operators day to day, they're really not in the business of developing or wanting to develop bundles, even though it's really cool to do that. But imagine something like a Docker Hub where, hey, if someone's already figured out how to deploy like a Kafka cluster or something like that, if I can just pull that in and just interface with whatever the parameters and credential sets that like is in that doc for that bundle, that's all I want to do. I don't want to know how the sausage is made. And I think that's the real value of the bundle, right? And so the way I was looking at this is like, is there an effort that, that this community wants to do to where we go and we solicit like, the main ISVs of maybe, I don't know, top whatever applications that we feel are most popular, and have those in some type of registry, hub, whatever the name we want to call that, so that, again, operators can just know that they can point to those, they're validated, There's no security issues and they can just go on about their day to deploy things. So I think if you look at all the other IAC tools, they have similar things, right? If you look at Azure, there's a whole ARM kind of quick start templates. And I know AWS has like cloud formation type of registry and so on. But I think this project would benefit from something like that, because again, you kind of stay in that whole kind of IAC world of understanding. Hey, I just want to know where's my modules at? Where can I go grab things to kind of quickly deploy stuff? So that's my 2 cents on that. And like to see kind of what everyone's feeling. I mean, it's effort, but I'm just saying like that would really, I'll use a really cheesy statement, grease the skids here for operators coming into this, make it super boring.
Yeah. Hey, Phil, I want to be mindful of what I'm saying here a little bit, but I may have been working on that, and I may have owned some domains around that already.
Nice.
And yeah, it's something that I see a lot of value in.
Yeah, and I think like I said, I think once we get this to a level, I think kind of soliciting ISVs to kind of do that work would come naturally, because think about it, they probably already have these mechanisms already. Like they have these deployments in some other type of IAC form, and just putting it in the bundles like super easy.
Would we, hey Phil, sorry. Would
yeah,
we,
go ahead.
I have to lower my hand. Would we want to do something where we have our official Porter bundle of this thing, or we let other people contribute to where like this is a official so-and-so bundle, and it's going to be like verified to a point where they maintain it, and then they can be like kind of like what almost, I don't want to say what Docker Hub does it too, right, their images and stuff like that, but like it'll be more not necessarily of a community, but more of a like a ecosystem of all these bundles that are verified, maintained by certain people. We have our own Porter bundles that we want to say is Porter verified and give it a cool little badge, but also enlist the community to do this as well, because it makes their job a lot easier from a perspective of trying to use the ecosystem as in an instance.
Yeah, I haven't gone that far. I mean, there's definitely some
well.
controls. No, but you're thinking about it the right way. There's definitely some controls you want. If you look at like a Docker Hub, yeah, there's verified images, but then there's also kind of just anyone putting images up there. So kind of, use as your own discretion type of thing. I don't know if we want to put so much of like, it's nice to have verified like ISV bundles like that is going to really comfort like operators working at large enterprises to know that, hey, this thing has a badge on it from Microsoft or whoever the case may be, but I don't want to stifle some of people who just want to be recognized in the community, who maybe, hey, somebody doesn't want to build that bundle and someone wants to build it for the community, and I don't know what the verification process is, but I don't want to kind of stifle that type of innovation.
I'm gonna cut off Justice really, really quick. I'm so sorry. Just because I have my answer to this. So I don't think like being like, hey, company, Nginx, let's just use Nginx. Hey, Nginx, we're making an Nginx bundle and you're gonna have to maintain it. I don't have a better word for this, but I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah.
If we can work with them to create that, but we would always have to maintain it. So like creating like a small list of bundles that are like Porter makes and maintains, but are approved by X company is like totally a valid thing. And then having the community come in. But I see where Phil's going, and this is actually something that we need to like do a planning session eventually about, which is what would make like a certified like Porter okay bundle? What are like the parameters of like a good basic bundle that should be approved? Like things like that. And I'm sure like Terraform has done this with providers, and we can just start kind of copying things over.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justice.
So yeah, it's going to be tough to maintain all those. You're probably going to want to have it open to the community, but at the same time, you want the community to be able to attest that the proper author wrote it, or a author that you may trust. So like I think a really good example of this is VS Code's plugins. So you see a bunch of different ones that'll do like roughly the same thing, but you see one with like 1 million, downloads and, this little badge or something. It says, yeah, this actually came from a developer you trust. From the community standpoint, from the open source standpoint, I think the power would be in actually having a project for a registry, having a project that somebody else could host, not necessarily Porter hosting it, but actually like, hey, the text there, somebody else can host it and then value add on top of it. To me, that would be better for building, because you're not going to want to do this unless you are actually making money off of it. It's not an endeavor that the community wants to go through. It's actually quite expensive. And if you don't have some kind of monetization plan, it's tough to run this stuff in perpetuity, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you want to boil the ocean, but yeah, no, I hear you, David, on that. Yeah, it's a tax that someone has to pay at some point in the workflow. But it'd be nice to have, like, again, if I'm starting and the benefits of like the secure supply chain and all that, but hey, if I know that I need to deploy like some crazy MySQL kind of infrastructure and there's a bundle out there and all I have to do is pass it params like, hey, I want it in these regions and have it replicate and hit the button and poof, it's there. That's a nice thing to have. Because I guess I worry about, hey, from an operator perspective, to me, if I'm a hardcore like Terraform guy, hardcore CloudFormation, etc., I don't want to learn another tool. It's going to be tough. But if I could bundle it and consume something that deploys like some of the work effort I've already done, then that's gold, I see Troy, you guys hand up. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah. I agree with both of you, but like to David's point, I think if you can build that service for the people can use it and do their own stuff, they can, that leads to like air gap solutions where people don't have to actually reach out to stuff, where they can actually do this themselves and host it and be able to, because outside of the monetization part, that's going to be really difficult to actually just support from a place of trying to build things and cache things and stuff like that to a point where, but again, I still think it's a good idea.
Cool. Awesome. Does anyone else have anything they want to touch on? We're almost at time. Nope. Cool. This was a really great discussion. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for everyone for just being cool and chit-chatting about us. Reminder, if you have any notes that you want to add, please throw it in the HackMD. I've been trying to keep all the notes up to date, but you'll notice I'll just like have a question and then there's just a line because I was listening and I didn't write anything down. Or add your name into the file. If I missed your name, just please add it. And awesome. I will see you all soon. We're planning to do, there's a little like secret tidbit. We're planning to do like another planning session, not operator focused, but just Porter focused, just to see like what is our timeline, what should we, how can we make things more approachable issue wise, and for community members to like see like, hey, grab this issue, we want it pulled out of the backlog, that kind of stuff. So we're going to kind of prune the backlog and kind of look at like v1.0.15 and what that's going to look like. And so Ralph, Phil, and I are going to set a date for that eventually. And I want that, community members welcome. So just keep your eyes out for that. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Thank you all for coming. I will see you on the internet. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, y'all. Later.